Hey guys, welcome to Boxing Squared for boxing news and views from around the internet. Final thoughts for Fabio Wardley and Frazer Clarke, the rematch, which was on the undercard of the Beterbiev and Bivol undercard. So that's the big undisputed fight, but this is a big heavyweight clash, one that I think many heavyweight fans have been looking forward to since the very entertaining and competitive first fight, which ended in a draw. Some people had it going either way, but I think a draw was not an unfair result. A lot of momentum shifts, but a few surprises at the weigh-in, I thought, because Frazer Clarke, I thought he had been cutting a leaner figure in fight week, and I thought, yeah, I think he might be coming in a little bit lighter than the 266 pounds that he came in for the first fight. But not so. So Clarke actually 271 pounds. And when compared to some of the rest of the fights in his early pro career, pretty consistent. So, 270, 270, 271, 272. So he's there or thereabouts where he would typically weigh. Actually 5 pounds lighter the last time against Fabio Wardley. And I'm not sure what to make of that, because I thought he did look leaner, but maybe there's a little bit of body recomposition going on. That this is a shot, that weird kind of shot that they put out in a little video, but I don't think he looks out of shape or anything. I think maybe compared to some of the earlier versions from fights we've seen in the last year or two, that Clarke actually does potentially look in a bit better condition. But sometimes guys can Sergey Kuzmin was a classic example. He'd look somewhat lean at the weigh-in and then be muffin topping over his shorts on fight night. So we'll have to see what happens. But I do wonder if the conditioning will catch up with Frazer Clarke with 271 in the later rounds, if in fact it goes that way, because what we have seen from that first fight, both guys were tiring down the stretch, and I think because Wardley had exerted so much effort early on, Clarke was having spots of success, he was economical, but he too was tiring a bit in that fight. So I wonder if the extra 5 pounds is going to make any sort of difference. I don't think it'll be a huge difference, but sometimes we're talking very small margins in a sport like this for fights like this. I expect, again, it's going to be a closely contested and fought fight where there will be some momentum swings. But I do think, and I said this in a video, I think for this fight a little while ago, Fabio Wardley definitely is going to have to just dial back on some of the enthusiasm, not dump so much energy and adrenaline early, because Frazer Clarke is going to be standing there and he's going to be, throwing shots. He's not going to be too reckless. He's not going to be going after Wardley to the point where he's wasting a lot of energy. He'll let Wardley come to him. We saw in that first fight, he was economical and it paid off for him. He almost took it. And that was obviously despite having a point deducted for low blows and also getting dropped in that fifth round. I did wonder, because obviously low blows were a feature of that fight to some extent, and also the previous fight from 2023 against Dave Allen, where he was deducted 2 points for low blows. So yeah, I wonder if we're going to see that come into things just a little bit. Seems to be a bit of a proclivity for throwing some of those low blows. And the thing, and you can see here on this weigh-in graphic, is Fabio Wardley. That nose does not look good. And here's a little bit more from I've stopped the clip. I think one of the interesting things, and I heard Fabio Wardley sort of shake it off and dismiss it during fight week, was he said it's below the eyes, it's not going to flow into it. But obviously it's his nose, and if Clarke's targeting it and managed to cut him open, could have a little bit of impact if blood is sloshing all over the place. It got pretty nasty last time. But if Clarke is going after that nose too, who's not to say that he's going to damage some of the structure of the nose? It will be hard for Wardley to breathe potentially if, some damage is sustained. So I think that is something to watch out for. Wardley, in this clip in particular, had talked about making some tweaks and some adjustments, and they know what they needed to do and have been working on, and now it's about him sort of executing that. And I've been saying with this fight, because I did pick Wardley the first time around, I thought that some of the athleticism and his speed would potentially be too much for Frazer Clarke, and we did see at points it was. but Wardley was a bit wild and a bit reckless, and it did backfire a bit. He did sort of gas out. He did create some openings because he was really going for it at points, and Clarke was able to punch with him. But, I mean, this sort of matchup, I think, even though it may not be, I mean, who knows? I mean, it may not be as, rock'em sock'em, the slugfest it was in the first fight. There's still going to be, I think, plenty of action, plenty of back and forth, plenty of success for both fighters. I think it is going to be a rematch where, probably small margins and small adjustments can create a little bit of separation if, in fact, this goes the distance where one guy wins it by a couple of rounds. And I still think with the athleticism that Wardley has, and he's been getting better and better, and we know that he can hurt and drop Frazer Clarke. I still am sort of leaning towards him, but Clarke showed his experience in that first fight. He really did, with the way that he was calm, under pressure, and he didn't waste a lot of energy, and he made his shots count. And he was able to have a lot of success of his own. But a little bit heavier for this one. I mean, is he putting more stock into a knockout? Is that just, time of the weigh-in, a bit more water on board? I mean, it's hard to say. Is he going to be, the same effectively on fight night as the first fight? I did think both these guys, they were tiring in that first fight. That was something to watch for the second one. But obviously, great fight. Loved the fight. What are your thoughts on this and how it plays out? I think it could ultimately go to a decision again, and I think it will be a narrow one for Wardley. But, with the way things were back and forth the first time, if Clarke takes it, yeah, I mean, I'm not going to be shocked, because I think these two, they seem to be, at this point in their careers, very well matched in terms of putting them together, and the styles will mesh well. Wardley, his ceiling, I think, potentially a little bit higher in terms of what he could eventually go on to be. But, hey, we're dealing with the here and now. So we'll have to see what adjustments they've made for each other and how that's going to play out in the ring. What do you make of it all? Drop a comment loud and often. Hit like, hit subscribe. Follow me on Twitter. Boxing_squared. I'm out.